I'm Tim from Untitled Personal Training and welcome to Workout Wednesdays. Every Wednesday I'm going to be taking you through a workout that you can perform along with me in real time. It's ideal for people starting out in their strength training journey. So if you're looking for a bit of guidance in terms of how to get started on that journey, then join me for the first ever Workout Wednesday today. Perform this workout with me, and each week we'll progress the workouts, and over time we'll be performing more intense versions of what we're about to achieve today. So let's get warmed up to begin with. Nice easy warm up, get the muscles moving, get the joints moving. Start with 10 nice big backwards arm swings. Once you've done 10, we'll go forwards. And we'll now move down towards the lower body for some hip circles. So we're just nice, easily mobilizing the joints, getting everything moving a little bit before we perform the more intense strength work to come. Should point out that none of the exercises that we're going to be performing in this series are going to require any specialist equipment. You'll be able to perform these with me as we go along in your own home without needing any specialist equipment. So you should be up to about 10 hip circles each way now. So we'll now take to the floor, start engaging a few muscles now. So we'll switch the core on now, on all fours. Just hold this position for 5 seconds or so. Perhaps spread your feet a little bit wider for a base of support. And to make this exercise more demanding, we're going to start tapping the alternate shoulder with our hands.
With these shoulder taps, we're looking for 10 taps to each side, just to engage the core.
Great. Now we're going to go onto the floor for some hip lifts. Engage the glutes this time. We'll go 15 hip lifts, reasonably bent knees. Heels driving through the floor. You can even lift the toes off the ground to make sure your heels are driving through the floor, and get your hips nice and high. Perform these alongside me at the same time as me. You can perform this whole workout with me as we go through it.
These hip lifts or glute bridges are a continuation of the warm-up. We're using them just to ensure that we've switched on all the major muscle groups.
Okay, so that's round one of our warm-up. We'll go through that one more time. So we'll do the arm swings, 10 backwards, then 10 forwards. We'll do hip circles, 10 one way, 10 the other. We'll then go shoulder touches again, 10 taps to each side, and then maybe 15 hip lifts for the second time round that warm-up. And then we'll begin to get a little bit more intense with the strength training. We're going to be performing a whole body strength training session. We're going to try and hit all the muscle groups, all the major muscle groups. It's going to be a relatively moderate session, this first session, but as I mentioned, the intensity will gradually and progressively increase over the weeks. So join me on this journey to a better you. Let's go round. Second round. So 10 backwards arm circles and 10 forwards. Onto the hip circles. Should be starting to feel reasonably warm now. Should feel the core engaged from those shoulder taps and the glutes engaged from the hip lifts.
Remember, after 10 hip circles, change direction and do another 10 in the opposite direction.
Okay, back on all fours for the shoulder taps. So on your hands, knees, straight arms. Try not to let your upper body move or rotate too much. Stay nice and strong and stable through the core. Nice and still as you tap your shoulders. Okay, let's go. Reasonably wide feet to help you with a nice stable base of support.
When performing the shoulder taps, you should have a straight line from the shoulders all the way to the feet. Don't let the hips pike up or sag down, and keep the upper body nice and still. If you find these difficult, you can always have your knees resting on the ground rather than your feet.
Excellent. And now we'll complete this warm-up with 15 more hip lifts. Having a slight pause at the top of each rep here, and just squeeze your glutes hard at the top. So your glutes are your bum cheek muscles, just clench them tight at the top. Five more.
Don't forget, as you're doing this, you can pause the video at any point to double check on technique.
Good job. Okay, so warm-up's complete. Now it's time to get into the main parts of the workout. We're going to work on strengthening the core, the upper body muscles, the lower muscles, all together in one complete workout. Things are going to get a little bit more intense now, so just go at your own pace. If you can't do as many reps as I'm doing, just stop slightly short of that. Do what you can manage. Okay, so the first exercise in the main part of the session that we're going to try is an exercise that I call the press plank. It's a modification or a hybrid, if you like, of the plank exercise and the press up exercise. It's a little bit more demanding than a standard plank, but it's easier than a press up. If you find this too challenging, simply perform the exercise from your knees. So the easier version from your knees will look like this. Resting on your knees, feet together. Try and have a straight line from your knees all the way to your shoulders. And then we're going to start on our hands like so with the arms straight. Go down onto our forearms. Back up onto our hands. Okay, so that's the easy version. The harder version, which I'm now going to do, is going to be exactly the same. You just choose which version is suitable for yourself. It's going to be exactly the same, but we're not going to be on our knees. We're going to be on our feet with a straight line from our feet all the way through to our shoulders. Let's shoot for 10 repetitions. Go leading with your left arm. So your left arm is going to go down first, and then your left arm is going to come up first. Okay, let's go.
Don't forget there's two options with this exercise. Either perform them from your feet, as I am doing right now, or alternatively perform the easier version from your knees, as I demonstrated just before.
Good job. So we're going to repeat that very soon, but this time we're going to switch hands. So on that first set we led with our left hand, on our next set we're going to lead with our right hand. So the right arm's going to go down first and the right hand's going to come up first. I'm going to try and go for 10 reps again. If 10 was a little bit challenging for you, start with 8 or even 6 reps. And again, you've got the two options. Either go from your knees or do the full first version with your feet on the floor. Round 2 coming up.
The coaching points for this exercise are the same as with the shoulder taps we performed in the warm-up. We want a straight line from the shoulders all the way to the ankles or the feet. We don't want the hips piking up or sagging down, and we want to try as best as possible to keep the upper body nice and still.
Great job. So that's our first upper body exercise. We'll now move to the lower body before coming back to this exercise again after a little recovery. I'll just grab a chair. So the beauty of these sessions that we're going to be performing every Wednesday is that you don't need any specialist equipment. A chair is about as advanced a piece of equipment we're going to be needing in the first instance. So we're going to put our feet on this chair and we're going to be performing some hip lifts in a very similar fashion to how we performed the hip lifts in the warm-up. Obviously the difference here is that the feet are elevated. So it's a more demanding exercise and it's going to shift the hamstrings shift the emphasis a little bit to the hamstrings, whereas the initial easier exercise that we performed in the warm-up emphasized the glutes a little bit more. So away we go. We'll have around a 90-degree bend at the knees, both feet on the chair, reasonably central, and then we're going to take one leg off the chair and then try and lift the hips nice and high. I'm going to shoot for 20 repetitions of this. Again, if that's too demanding for you, start with 15 repetitions or even 10 repetitions.
If you are finding the single leg version of this exercise too difficult, as I'm performing here, then an easier alternative is to place both feet on the chair at the same time and work both legs together.
Okay, that was 20 repetitions, so both feet back on the chair, nice and central. This time, we'll remove the other foot from the chair. The free leg, you should aim to have the knee as closely tucked to your chest as possible. So don't let that knee come further away from the chest, or try not to let it come further away from the chest as you go up through the movement. Okay, let's go, second side.
You should be feeling this exercise working the back of the thighs, so the top back thigh muscles, which are called the hamstring muscles. Don't forget, I'm performing 20 repetitions on each leg here. If you didn't quite manage to get to 20 repetitions on the first side, don't worry. Just try and match the number of repetitions you did on this second side so that you're performing the same number of repetitions on each leg.
Good job. Okay, so if you're still with us, congratulations. You've made a great start to your strength training journey so far. Stick with us because we're going to repeat the exercises that we've done so far to get a little bit more volume. The intensity and the volume is going to increase as we progress through the weeks on these Workout Wednesday sessions. But keep going, you're doing great. This is a perfect start to your strength training journey. We're now going to repeat the same two exercises again. So we began with upper body, we moved on to lower body. Now we're going back to upper body with the press planks again. So aim to match the number of repetitions you did on that first set. So I went with 10 repetitions. If you went with 12, or if you went with 8, or even 6 or 5, that's fine. Just try and match that number again on this second set. And remember, there's two options. You can start in a full press-up position, or you can start in a press-ups from the knees position, which will be slightly easier for you. Okay, let's go. Round 2.
Don't forget, although these videos come out once a week on Wednesdays, you should be aiming to perform the workouts perhaps 3 times a week. So aim to come back to these videos during the week and repeat these workouts with me whilst replaying the video again a couple more times during the week.
Okay, good job. So we're going to repeat that again shortly. You should have been leading with your left arm there. When we repeat it next, we'll be leading with our right arm. So remember, the right arm is next going to go down first, and then the right arm will go back up first. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get updates every Wednesday when we're releasing the next edition of Workout Wednesdays, and your strength training sessions can progress logically and suitably week on week. Okay, let's get back to the action now. Second set of round 2, leading with your right arm.
Just a friendly reminder, if you are finding these too difficult, you can perform the same exercise from your knees as well for an easier version. If you do perform these from your knees, you may want to place a cushion under your knees just for comfort.
Great job. Okay, back to the lower body now. Feet elevated, hip lifts. So just a reminder of the points. We want a roughly 90-degree bend at the knees, roughly 90 degrees at the hips. You don't need to be super strict, but roughly 90 degrees at both joints. Feet central on your chair. You can use any suitably elevated point. A kitchen chair against the wall is likely to be fine. You may be able to use your sofa, possibly even some stairs. Feet central, then take one foot off and shoot for matching the number of hip lifts you did on the first round. Let's go.
As a reminder, I'm performing 20 repetitions per leg here. But if you didn't manage 20 repetitions the first time round, don't worry, just try and match the number of repetitions you did in the first round, and if single leg version of this exercise is too difficult, just place both feet on the chair and perform the exercise using both legs at the same time.
Okay, feet back onto the central point, and then take your opposite leg off and shoot for the same number of repetitions again.
If you've got any questions on the exercises in this video, leave a comment in the comment sections and I'll be sure to answer your queries.
Good job. Okay, we're most of the way through this first workout. Like I mentioned, it's not going to be too demanding this first workout because every week it's going to progress. So if you stick with us, your strength training will progress week on week as the sessions become more and more demanding at a realistic rate of progression. It's going to be the best way to start your strength training journey, because I will make sure you progress at a suitable and realistic rate. We've worked the upper body, we've worked the lower body. We're going to intensify the work of the core a little bit now with a basic plank, and we're going to alternate this with one more lower body exercise, which will work an alternative muscle group to what's been worked on so far. Okay, so next up is going to be the plank. I'm going to shoot for a 1 minute hold. If that's too demanding for you, don't worry. Go for 30 seconds or maybe even 45 seconds. You should be going until you're really starting to feel the abdominal muscles are having to work hard in order to maintain a stable position. We're looking for a straight line, again, through from the shoulders all the way down to the feet. You don't want your hips piking up or sagging down. Let's go. So rest on your forearms and hold a nice stable position. You can do these with straight arms as well, resting on your hands as an easier version.
An even easier version still, if you need it, will be once again to perform the exercise from your knees rather than having your feet as a point of contact with the floor. If you do this, once again, feel free to use a cushion underneath your knees for comfort purposes.
You got 10 seconds left. That's it.
Good job. 1 minute plank. Next up, we're going to do a 1 minute hold as well. This time we're going to perform a wall sit. This is going to work the front of the thighs. In the feet elevated hip thrust we did before, it worked the back of the thighs, the hamstrings primarily. So this is going to work the opposing muscle group. So we're really getting a fairly well-rounded full body workout here today. So we want thighs pretty much parallel to the ground. Again, we're looking at a 90-degree bend at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees. Hands out in front, try not to rest your hands on the thighs. We want hands out in front to avoid cheating. Try and have your heels driving into the ground. You should be able to wriggle your toes a little bit.
How long are you doing?
I'm going to shoot for a 1 minute hold. If that's too demanding, first time out, shoot for 30 seconds or even 45 seconds, as with the plank before.
There isn't an easier modification of this exercise as such, although if you are particularly struggling with it, you can raise your hips slightly so you don't have a precise 90-degree bend at the hips.
Coming up to a minute. Okay.
Good job. We're almost there. We're going to do one more set of each, and that'll be the conclusion of the main part of the workout. So your core should be relatively recovered, ready to go again. So we're going to go straight into another 1 minute hold of the plank. Again, if you didn't quite manage a minute, just try and match the length of time that you performed on the previous set.
Just as a reminder, you can also perform this exercise with straight arms so that your hands are in contact with the floor, mimicking the top of a press-up position, and this is an easier alternative, and a further easier alternative still would be to perform the exercise from your knees rather than having your feet in contact with the ground.
"20 seconds left. Ten. Okay.
Great job. Well done for all of you that are still with us. You've been doing really well. This is the best possible start you could possibly do with regards to beginning a strength training journey. We're almost there now, just one more key set. We're going to do the wall sit again, and then the hard work's over for week 1. Okay, let's get in position. One more minute to win it on week 1 of Workout Wednesdays.
This wall sit exercise works the top front of the thighs. This muscle group is known as the quadriceps muscles.
I can feel my thighs starting to wobble a little bit. Don't worry if you can notice the same. That's completely fine and completely normal. You're probably feeling a burning sensation in your thighs right about now. Try and work through it as best as you can.
5 seconds. Okay.
Great job. So that's the hard work over. Congratulations on getting through week 1 of Workout Wednesdays. If you've made it this far, definitely subscribe to my channel because we'll be updating these sessions every single week. Installment number 2 will come out next week on Wednesday, and it will be a slightly more demanding session. A little bit more volume, a little bit more intensity, but it will be a manageable increase so that you can stay with the program long term and build your strength to wherever you want to ultimately get it to. Don't forget, you can repeat this session throughout the week. So I would have a day or 2 to recover from this session first, but in a couple of days' time, you could go through this video again, replay the video and perform it along with me once again. And you could do that maybe a couple of times this week before the next installment comes out on Wednesday next week. These are full body sessions, so there's no problem with repeating the session again during the week because your full body's getting a workout. We're not splitting it down into different body parts. We can, at this stage, certainly perform a whole body session several times a week. So let's move on to the final stage of this workout, which is just going to be stretching off those muscles that have been worked. So if your balance isn't up to scratch, like myself sometimes, just find a wall to hold on to, grab a heel and bring your heel to your bum to get a nice quadricep stretch. Stretch off those muscles we've just been working with the wall sit. We're going to hold this for an approximate 30 seconds. We don't need to be specific and count, but around about 30 seconds for each stretch would be perfect. Okay, I'm going to change sides. Should feel this stretch across the front of your thighs. Brilliant. Okay, so don't forget we also work to the back of the thighs, the hamstring muscles, with our feet elevated hip lift. So we're going to move back to the chair to stretch off the hamstrings, which we worked in the earlier part of the session. So one foot up on the chair, just lean into the stretch until you feel a stretch across the back of the thighs this time. If you can touch your toes, go for it, but don't worry if you can't. Okay, just going to do the other leg. An approximate 30 seconds for each stretch, as I mentioned earlier. Really feel a strong stretch along there. If this stretch is too demanding for you, if you're not quite having the level of flexibility required for this, I'll show you a more moderate stretch after this one. Okay, if you struggled with that a little bit, you can also just bend one knee and have one leg out in front of you. Just lean forward into this stretch. And likewise, we'll just swap legs over, lean forward into that stretch. Good. Okay, we also work the abdominals quite hard with both the plank and also the earlier push press which we performed, which was not only an upper body pushing exercise, but also does engage the core significantly. So we'll stretch the abdominals off a little bit now. We'll go back onto the ground. Keep your hips on the ground and then just push up slightly. Just trying to stretch out your abdominals.
This stretch, although it's a great abdominal stretch, can aggravate some people's backs. So if you have a history of back problems or you're feeling it aggravate your back, feel free to miss this stretch out.
Good job. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're feeling worked up, and I hope you're feeling ready for next week's edition, also on Wednesday. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. So if you've got any questions at all, just leave them in the comments down below, and I'll also leave a link in the description below to my website, which by the way is chorltonpersonaltraining.co.uk.